Charles Barkley is up with us early today. Charles, I can't tell you how much I appreciate this. That was a very, let's just start there. That was a fascinating thing for Nico Harrison. So what did you take away from that?
Well, I want to give him his flowers, Greeny, for standing up. He didn't run. You know, a lot of general managers, when they make trades, you know, they put out statements or they don't go right to the press conference. I want to give Nico his flowers for standing up, saying what he had to stand for. He stood on business. Now we're going to sit back and watch. This is going to be one of the best reality TV shows probably in the history of sports. You know, Greta, this trade was a shocker for a couple reasons. Number one, it came out of nowhere, first and foremost. But secondly, what's really intriguing, normally when you trade a great player, you get a bunch of junk in return. The Mavs got a great Anthony Davis. So Luka's great. Anthony Davis is great. This is going to be one of the most fascinating things. And the thing is, it's going to be fascinating probably for the next 10 years. The Mavs won the trade for the immediate next three or 4 years. But the Lakers got a bright future if they put the right pieces around Luka.
I'm told Michael Wilbon is ready with us as well now from the studios in D.C. We welcome him in. Michael, thank you so much for doing this for us here. I want everyone to hear, Charles, what you were saying to me in the break as we were making sure that you could hear me and I could hear you. You were saying, you boiled it down to its simplest point. At the end of the day, why did this trade get made? Why were the Mavericks insistent or willing to walk away from a player and not pay him $350 million?
Well, some of you guys have made some great points. Brian always does a great job. Monica was great. Perk has some great things to say. Listen, none of us know what's happening behind the scenes with the Mavericks. But with this new collective bargaining agreement, they've got to give him 5 years, $350 million. Let me repeat that, because I'm like, wow. 5 years, $350 million. They know him better than anybody. They said, we don't think this guy's he's got something going on. He doesn't get in shape. He's not a great defender. Do we trust him? And they're like, we don't trust him. It's that plain. It's that simple. There's going to be a lot of noise going on around here. But the Mavericks, who know him better than anybody, the coaches and guys around there, the general manager says, we cannot give this guy 5 years, $350 million. That's the bottom line, plain and simple. He totally reshaped my life and my entire career. You know, Greeny, I was having great success in college. You can be fat in high school. You can be fat in college and have success. You cannot be fat in the pros. You can have some success, but you can't be great. So I wasn't getting to play, and I was the number 5 pick in the draft. And I asked Moses one day, could I come see him? And I said, Moses, why am I not getting to play? He said, you're fat and you're lazy. And I was like, what? He says, Charles, you can play. You're a good player. You can never be a great player. He said, you're going to have success, but you can never be an all-time unless you get in shape. And Greeny, he took me under my wing, and he made me lose 50 pounds. And the rest is history. The problem with Luka and Zion Williamson, both guys who need to get in shape, they already made men. There's nobody in Dallas, there's nobody in New Orleans can tell Luka, Brian Windhorst and Mike, and we've been talking about it for 3 or 4 years. He clearly is not watching us on television talking, man, this guy's a great player. If he ever got in shape, he could be even better. Same thing with Zion. But because they have so much power, nobody on the team in New Orleans can say to Zion, man, you as good as you are, you're talented, but you could be a superstar if you got in shape. Same thing with Luka. He's always hurt. Mike just said it, and he can't guard anybody. And Nico, hey, listen, Nico risked his job. Number one, I gave him his flowers earlier because he stood there and took y'all questions. He didn't want to say it. I don't know if this guy's going to get in shape. I can't risk giving him $350 million. I got to give that guy his credit. He made a decision. Now, It's one of those decisions where you're either going to lose your job or keep your job. But like Monica said and Perk said, the Dallas Mavericks, the Lakers, that's going to be fascinating because I don't think Luka and LeBron can play together. That's my personal opinion. Because neither one of them can play without the ball. That's going to be very fascinating. So we're looking at them down the line. I think they brought LeBron in to be a mentor for Luka. Like Mike just said it, LeBron's body is incredible. He's one of the greatest players ever, but from condition, I think they're hoping that rubs off on Luka. But I don't think they're going to have great success together. But the Dallas Mavericks have already stepped to the table. They're the second best team in the West. And listen, I love OKC. But the Dallas Mavericks are the second best team. When we wake up today, the Dallas Mavericks are the second best team in the West, plain and simple.
You're one of the few people walking the planet who can understand it. LeBron James is at the very end of one of the greatest careers of all time. He's 40 years old, however much time he has remaining in his career. I will compare him to aging quarterbacks in the NFL. Aging quarterbacks don't like it when their teams make deals for the future. They like it when their teams make deals that will help them win in the little window they have left. If you're LeBron James, put yourself in his shoes. How would you feel about this, and what would you want the last year or two of your career to look like now that AD is gone and Luka's there?
You know, Greta, that is a great question. This, to me, is the first time the Lakers made a decision where they didn't care what LeBron thought. Mm-hmm. You know, they've done everything that he was asked. And, you know, they bought in AD, so that, you know, because of the clutch sports. This, to me, was the first decision that the Lakers made, like, we got to think about life after LeBron. So, listen, LeBron, it is for everybody. But I got to give the Lakers credit. This is the first trade they've ever made where they probably didn't discuss it with him. They didn't decide who to hire or fire as a coach. This was the first decision I think they've ever made where they're like, you know, at some point we got to do what's best for the Lakers. I think that's a great question. I think it's really important because nobody who knows anything about basketball thinks LeBron and Luka can play together. Both of those guys are great, but neither one of them can play without the ball. So, but this is the first decision I think the Lakers have ever made, but they're like, hey, you know what? It's over or almost over for LeBron. We've got to do something for the future, and that's what they did, in my opinion.
So if the future, Charles, in Los Angeles is Luka, Doncic, and J.J. Redick, where does that...
If the perfect... Now, listen, that's actually a really good question also. If I'm LeBron, I got this year, I got 3 days, and I might got next year. If there's a perfect situation, like Tom Brady, you know, everybody want to give, and we all love Tom. Tom picked out the perfect situation in Tampa Bay to go out as a champion. LeBron has that type of cachet. He could pick in the next 3 days before Thursday, or he can roll it out to next year, because the Lakers are not going to win the championship in the next 2 years. But they could do something where he could go to the perfect situation like Tom Brady did and win the championship. So that's still on the table. It's not going to happen with the Lakers. The Lakers are mediocre at best. You know, they're the second best person in they're the second best team in LA. The Clippers even got a better team. They're not a contender, but the LeBron situation is interesting because if I'm Rob Pelinka, I call LeBron, because now they got to start stockpiling assets to help Luka going down the road. I would have a conversation, LeBron, where could we trade you this year or next year where you have a legit shot to win the championship and we get a good couple pieces or some good draft pick? I think that has to be on the table.
I'm with you, and Charles, since I have a limited time with you, I'll come back to you on that. Does that situation exist that you can see? Can you see a team right now that could be LeBron's Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Well, OKC is not it. The Mavs are not it. I actually, to be honest with you, I swing for the Warriors. I would. I would try. First of all, it would be must-watch television to see Steph and LeBron play together. I'm just thinking, just off the top of my head, I think the Warriors would be fascinating because, listen, Steph and LeBron together, people have been talking about it for years. How about the Spurs? The Spurs got De'Aaron Fox, Wemby, LeBron. They got 100 draft picks. I'm telling you, if I'm the Warriors or the Spurs, because for De'Aaron to learn from LeBron and Wemby to learn from LeBron the next couple of years, those are two places I can see would be fascinating.
Deep playoff runs in his career. They went to the Western Conference Final a few years ago. They went to the NBA Final last year. If you sort of project, do the Lakers have their new star? The Lakers have always been about having a superstar. Is Luka Doncic going to be that for the next decade for the Los Angeles Lakers?
Well, number one, this has to be a wake-up call for him. You know, to hear all these guys on television, your old team talking about you being out of shape, at some point, you have to say, you know what? If everybody's saying the exact same thing, maybe they're right. I got to get in shape. That's the first thing. And the second part of your hey, listen, they got their man for the next 10 years for sure. But this has to be a wake-up call for Luka because, Mike, nobody want to turn on TV and says, man, all these dudes on TV telling me I'm out of shape. Well, maybe you're out of shape. And I hope this is a wake-up because he's a great kid and a great player. But to hear all of us, myself included, saying this dude's not in shape, it has to be a wake-up call. And he's going to be great with the Lakers. But for them to go to the next level, he's going to get in shape.
But let me just zero in on one thing on that, Charles. I get it. We can all see what you're talking about, and we understand the defense is a liability. But even out of shape, he has put up numbers that compare favorably with literally anybody, and his team has done some pretty high-level winning during that time. So even out of shape, Luka Doncic, I think he finished third in the MVP voting last year, and his team went to the NBA Finals. One might argue that's pretty good all by itself, even in this condition.
It is pretty good, but you at the end of the day, when you're that great, people gonna hold. First of all, I know this personally. No matter how great you are, if you don't win a championship, people gonna hold that against you. That's the life we have chosen. You're great, but you haven't won a championship. I have to live with that. Karl Malone has to live with that. Patrick Ewing, as great as we were, and Luka's on that list right now. That's just the way it is. Hey, this is business, man. Like Jack Wesley Snipes. This is business. It's nothing personal. He hasn't won a championship. I haven't won a championship. And until he wins it, people are going to hold that against him, plain and simple.
Charles Barkley, this is so great of you. Thank you so much for being there when we called you yesterday.